Hello, I'm Karen, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you how to make my teeny tiny cardigans. I know it's popular request, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you, I've got an even smaller one there, these have got no sleeves on, and I'm going to share with you the different designs so that what you can do is the way that you work your actual shoulders depends on how the rest of your cardigan is going to look. So if I put these two side by side, these have both got the sloped shoulders. This one obviously kicks out, this one's straight down. Okay, and then this cardigan here, I haven't sewn the ends in because I want to share with you how you can use those ends to make a tie. But this one has the square shoulders, and which causes the kicking out to come out a lot further so that it's just a lot wider as a cardigan. So it purely depends on what you want as your style of your finished cardigan for you to work with, okay? So obviously I've done this little cardigan. Now this little cardigan I actually made with, that's no such word, I made with the sloped shoulders. Okay, so because I want to make this as easy as possible for everybody to do, what I would like you to do is to actually pause the video and go and get yourself a pen and paper, and then I will share with you how you can begin your patterns in a really easy way, and you can have this in your little notebook, so it's just really simple without actually having the full pattern because you really don't need it. So hopefully you're going to pause the video, and if you've paused the video and come back, you should now have your pen and paper. Now essentially what you want to do is you actually oh, my video's gone all fuzzy. Oh no, it's okay, the focus has come back. That was a bit of, okay, I'm having a bizarre moment with the focus of this right now. But essentially what you want to do is you want to make yourself a shape that looks like a square with a doorway in the middle of it, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to convert that shape into circles, which are going to represent your chains. So for this little tiny cardigan here, this one, what we've done is we've actually got 4 chain, a 4 chain, a 4 chain, a 4 chain, and an 8 chain there. And the easiest way I find to do it so that you can remember everything is to actually draw yourself in circles. So if you do 1, 2, 3, 4 to represent this side here, and then you want your doorway and you want to do 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 for the opposite way. Now what you want to do now is you want to do a 5th chain there, and you colour this one in. So that's your 5th one there, colour that one in, and then you want to go up 4. Okay, so you want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and the same the opposite side, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the 5th chain, we're going to colour that one in, colour that one in that side, so we've got our 5 chains, and then across here we need our 8. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I know they don't quite meet, but that's okay. This is just for our image. So this is actually going to be your first chain that you're going to do. Now, because we're working in a half double crochet, so I'm going to put half double crochet, HDC, yeah, for half double crochet, we actually need to begin with a chain of 2. So we're going to add 2 more chains to the doorway part there. So that's our first row. So we actually know how many stitches we need for our first row. We can just then count all of them. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, so I'm going to put 30 in the centre. That's 30 chains. Yeah? Once you've done that initial row, these ones that I've coloured in here, these are where you're going to be doing your corners. So this is where you decide if you want the sloped sleeves. I'll just put sloped shoulders. Yeah, we only want to do 1 half double with a chain and another half double into that particular chain there. And so it's the same for every corner. So we want to have our 2 half doubles with a chain in the middle. Okay, and that's how a simplistic way it is to be able to get yourself going. So if you want to do this really small one, this one is done on the same principle. We've got our little our house with our doorway in it, but this time it's a 3, a 3, a 6, a 3 and a 3. Okay, but we need to remember that we've got to add these corner ones in as well. So you can do the simple maths that way round, but then do your little circles in the corner to remember that you need to add in your stitches. So you've got your 6 plus 6 is 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 for your main bits, but then you've got your corners, that's 19, 20, 21, 22. We're still working in a half double crochet, so we want 2 more chains, so that actually becomes a total of 24. Okay, so if you wanted to do it in the chain version, you would do 1, 2, 3, you colour your corner in, leave your little doorway, 1, 2, 3, colour your corner in, come up 3, 1, 2, 3, colour your corner in, 1, 2, 3, colour your corner in, and remember we need to do 6. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and these are the ones where you're going to do the sloped shoulders. So we're only actually putting one. It's like you're going to do a half double, a chain, a half double. If you want to make the square shoulders, all we do is we change the corners. So the corners we would actually have 2 half double crochet and a chain. Yeah, I know it looks like little spider things, but that's the easiest way that you can remember this pattern. And then that way, you say once you've started off, so you just got to remember you've either got a 3, and the back is always twice the length of the side pieces. Okay, and so you can keep going up. So you can do a 4, you can do so the next one would be a 5 and a 10, you can do a 6 and a 12, and you keep working like that. Excuse me. Okay, so that's the simplistic way. Now, for quickness of the video, I was going to make this little teeny tiny one, but I think that realistically you're all interested in this one, which is the next size up. So I'm going to move this out of the way. Just put that to one side. I'm also going to share with you is this particular cardigan is made from, I've used this, it's called Fiesta double knitting, and it's actually it says it's a 50% acrylic and 50% bamboo. So this is super soft for your really tiny delicate baby skin, and if you make it in the baby yarn, there we go, look, it fits little Ted. You know when I did my teddy bears, this is actually Mummy Bear. So when I did my 3 bears and I actually crocheted this one, this was actually Mummy Bear. And in the actual, I'm going to take the cardigan off to show you. In the actual normal baby yarn that you would use, this is the same cardigan. All I've done is just put a frill on the edge of this one, and I've got one button instead. It's still got the sloped shoulders, but as you can see, it just makes it that much bigger. It's not a huge amount, but it makes the sleeves easier to get your fingers in, whereas this is really tiny. So you may struggle to get a little tiny hand through there. So I've decided that what I'm going to do is I'm not going to put the sleeves on today. I'm going to be just sharing the main body. Okay, and so if we do the sloped shoulders and then we add the body on it, you can see it kicks out nicely, whereas this one I just did the straight version. And this particular one here is done with the square shoulders, but as you can see, because the pattern at the bottom is exactly the same as this pattern here, and you can see how much of a difference that made in size wise. You've got a lot wider here, so it's going to be a lot bigger across the chest. The sleeve holes themselves are a lot bigger than these ones here. So simply by altering the shoulders, you can actually increase the size for bigger arms. But like I said, I'm going to start off with this little tiny one. And my history that I'm going to be sharing with you today is going to be the Omphalos stone. But I won't share that until I've actually got to a bit where I'm just crocheting along and it's just repetitive. I'm actually going to be using this is the white version of this yarn, but I would say it's actually more technically a creamy colour. It's sort of like a very, very light ivory in real life, okay? And I'm using this one because it's pulling from the centre of the ball and I'm happy with it. I'm also going to be using a number 4 hook. Now then, this is my number 4 hook. It's 4mm hook, which is also a G6. And I've got these other hooks as well, just because this one actually says on it 4mm. This one just says Aero on the back. It's nothing to do with chocolate. And a number 4. And this is a modern day version of a 4mm hook. And I know before we thought that there was some kind of difference between my old fashioned hooks and my new hooks. So I've got this. This is a knitting gauge. Unfortunately, they've been just towards knitting. You know, to be honest, they could just utch that along and put crochet and knitting, or knitting and crochet gauge, for you to be able to measure your hooks. But as things go, crochet is not the top of the league for those sorts of things. But as you can see down this part here, we've got all these numbers which show you. So a number 4 will fit in beautifully. Yeah, and it's got a tiny bit of movement. But if you put it into the 4.5, it's got a little bit of a wobble going off there. And all of my hooks all fit the number 4. This one's slightly tighter when it first goes in, just because of the end bit, but they all fit the number 4. Sorry, just let me have a little sip of my coffee, because I say I've had this really strange illness and I've got this tickle that doesn't want to seem to leave me. So if you think my work comes out larger than your work, then it purely is my tension that I use, because I actually crochet quite loosely. Okay, so I don't want you to think, oh, you know, I've made it wrong because I've made it too small. You haven't made it wrong at all. It's just a difference of tension. So if you find that this is so small, it's just ridiculous, you can actually go up a hook. So if you go up to a 4.5, it's just going to make it that bit bigger. And if you go up to a 5, it's going to make it bigger, and all the way up. You can still use exactly the same pattern, even with a number 9 hook, and still make yourself a very similar cardigan. And the only thing that you really need to concentrate on, let's get one without the sleeves on it, is you wanting to get the correct size, like, you know, like obviously for the body, so it fits right. So on this particular one, I've actually only done 3 rows before I've actually joined everything together. So this one actually is this one's the same size as that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the pattern, and now I'm already 13 minutes in, but like I said, I want this to be an informative video so that you can actually just go off with your little diagrams and you can crochet. I mean, some people may have just said, okay, I've seen what I wanted to see, that I've seen enough, I don't want it anymore, and they can go and crochet the cardigans from there. But for those that want to like have a crochet along, I want to share with you a new little stitch that I don't know whether it's, you know, because I don't go and check all of the stitches. I don't know whether it's something that I've just made up myself or whether it's actually something that exists somewhere and has a proper name. But I've got 2 different stitches in here that I would like to share. So to start off with, now with this one, you see I normally leave like a 12 to 15 inch tail, and I would say just leave it that little bit longer, because then afterwards you can thread it through and you can actually crochet the ends to make a little tie. Because at the end of the day, when you've got a teeny tiny person in hospital, they've normally got cannulas and tubes, and they've still got the little belly button bit on them. And a tie is so much easier to do, just to do a simplistic tie. Yeah, so in an emergency, it's like, it's open straight away. There's no messing. So I'm doing it this way around, just because obviously I was thinking about the tiny, tiny people in hospital, and all of your relatives or your friends. And also you can ask your friends, you know, what style would you prefer? Would you like a button or would you not? But today's no buttons and it's just the bodywork, okay? So according to my instructions, I needed to begin with a chain of 30. And I'm going to be working in a half double crochet when I actually work. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Oh, just before we carry on, just to add a little note on your paper, right, because you're going to be working in the third chain, yeah, so it's like begin in third chain, begin in third chain. That's because you're working in the half double crochet and it fits really nicely. I did try it with working just with one, but it doesn't work so well. So into the third chain we're going to do our first half double crochet. So we've got our little V's, that's 1, 2, 3. And now we know our pattern is a 4, so we need to do 4 half double crochet. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Remember, we're doing the sloped version of the shoulders today, so it's going to be a half double crochet, a chain 1, and a half double crochet in the same chain. And that's your first corner. It does make this little stitch here a little bit tighter, but you can still work in it nicely. So we need to work 4 again. Sorry. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And now you'll have come to your next filled in dot, which is going to be another corner. So you're going to work a half double crochet, a chain 1, and a half double crochet. I'm ever so sorry, in England that's actually going to be a half treble crochet, just so that you know. Now we've done our 2 side pieces. Now we're going to work across the back, so we're going to work 8. So that's 1. I'm being slow, 2, because this yarn splits really easily. 3, 4. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm like wonky off camera. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So now we need to work into a corner again, our coloured in dot. So it's going to be half double, chain 1, half double. Okay, and then we need to do our 4 chains again, 4 half double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we need to do our corner, which is our coloured in part, so it's a half double crochet, chain one, half double crochet. How's my focus doing? Am I still in focus all right for you? I'm sorry, it's because I'm working with such tiny work. I'm just finding that my focus went a little bit wonky. It's gone automatic focus on my camera. And then the last four, so that's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, and we're just going to stop and look at our work. And as we look at our work, we've got this, like our little house, like we was drawing. This side, because you've got that chain in it, is always going to be one stitch bigger. But then as we do the chain on this side, it's going to sort of go that side. So it's going to swap side to side of being slightly bigger because of the chain. So now we need to do, for the next row, we're going to do chain 2. So that's 1, 2. So if you want to put that in your notes, it's chain 2, turn, and we're going to work into the top of the stitch. Don't work into the bottom of the chain, work into this piece here. And we're going to half double crochet. We don't need to count now. We're just going to work our half double crochet in each stitch until we get to the corner piece. So if we look at our work, see our corner is actually here, so I've got one more stitch to work in. And the corner is the chain 1 area, so we've actually got our stitch, a chain 1 and a stitch, and we're not going to work in either of those stitches. We're just going to work into the chain 1 area and do the same again. We're going to do a half double, a chain 1 and a half double into the corner. And you will see a little bit of this stitch here. You don't need to work in there, that's just it's just visible. I'm just letting you know that you can see it. So you're going to work into the actual proper bigger holes and work your way to the next corner. And say there's no need to count at all from now on. It's not actually really relevant. That's why I said it's such an easy pattern that you don't need to, it doesn't need to be complicated at all. So I'm sharing it in the easiest way that I know how to share. And we're coming into the next corner. I hope you can't hear my tummy rumbling. It's decided to have one of its moments. So we're in the corner again. So we don't work in the stitches into the corner. We're just going to work straight into that chain 1 space, and we're going to do half double, chain 1 and a half double. Remember, we're not going to work into that little tiny one. I've got both my threads tangled up there. And we're going to come all the way across the back so that it's, as I say, you don't need to count, it's just really easy. This is our second row. And on your piece of paper, you might want to add your little notes like chain 2 and turn on your little notes. And then when we do the third row, see, all the time it's just increasing naturally. It's a bit like the granny square. You know, when you go round and round and round in a circle, even though you're making a square, and it just naturally increases as you go along, just because you're adding the extra stitches in the corners. So back to the corner area again, into there, and we're going to do a half double, chain 1 and a half double there. And now this piece here, this is actually what would come across your shoulder area for those that haven't made the cardigan before at all. And I'll share with you how it works when we get to the end of this row. And say it is super easy. I'm probably making it look a little bit harder because I'm using the yarn I'm using. It does split really easily, and obviously I want the cardigan to look its best. I don't want to split the yarn while I'm working. And for those of you that aren't so advanced crocheters, I think me going a little bit slower is sometimes a help. So you can see what I'm actually doing. Now on this particular row, I've got to make sure that when you get to the end of the row, I'll show you. There's no point talking about it and then you're not seeing what I mean. See here, look, that you've got this stitch here, but then the next bit is, it's almost gone invisible where you've done that chain there. So you want to still actually go underneath 2 strands for that area there, just to finish it off. And that gives you the nice straight edge that you're looking for the neatness of your finish. So this is our 3rd row, so we're going to chain 2, turn. Remember, we're working into the big stitches, don't work into the chain at the hole at the bottom of your chain. I'm going to work across again, and oops, I'm just going to pull myself some more yarn, and we'll just, I say it just grow. Oh, I was going to show you, wasn't I? You'll have to wait till the end of this row now. I'm just so cheeky, aren't I? It's just because I think about something and then I've crocheted away and I forget. So I'm going to crochet into this one here. So with these tiny stitches, it is quite awkward, I suppose, in one sense, to see where your hole is, but you can soon find it. You just remember you don't need to work in those stitches, so we're going to do, this is another corner, so it's a half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet in the same space, ignore the teeny tiny hole, and then work his way across. I've got a bit of a loose stitch there, but I'm sorry, well, you're going to have to put up with me having a loose stitch rather than me being perfectly neat, because I'm not perfect and I'm not stopping the video again. I already stopped it once and had to start all over again. So, and I know it's going to be quite a long video, I suppose, in one sense. So, because we're already 27 minutes in. And when I do the longer videos, they actually take longer to upload. So, yes, today is Monday, the 20th of March. And actually, I think it's stopped raining, but all morning it has absolutely slung it down with rain. It rained all night last night. And yesterday it was absolutely super duper windy. But my frog spawned yesterday, so I'm so pleased. So I've got had 5 lots of frog spawn yesterday, and then I got up this morning to what looks like another 3 that's been laid during the night. And before I started my video, I popped out to have another look at them, and there's still another couple who's ready to spawn. So my lovely little pond is absolutely going to be teeming with tadpoles this year, because I've just got so many. So I'm really, really pleased with that. Unfortunately, one of my little shallower ponds, which I made out of a plastic tub, I had an accident and I stood in it yesterday while I was chasing a cat away, and I've broke it. So I'm going to have to reline that this summer. But I've got some pond liner left over from when I did the pond, so I think what I'll do is I'll just dig it and make it that little bit bigger. So they've got, because I just love the frogs and I think it's very educational and entertaining. So I just thought I'd randomly share that with you, just because. So we're nearly at the end of this row, and this is the one where, in the next row, we're actually going to join things together to make the sleeve holes. So we've got one into there, and we have the corner. I'm really sorry about my tickly throat. It's ever since I started having my teeth out. I'm sure I picked something up. You know, while I was having surgery and I'd got open wounds and then keep having to go to the hospital with my dad, I think I picked up some kind of random germ that wanted to turn itself into a strange tickly cough it's like it keeps coming and going and coming and going. So I'm not exactly sure, but I'm taking herbal remedies anyway, because I don't like all of those antibiotics and things. Right, so there we go. Now that I've done 3 rows, Okay, and what we're going to do on the next row is we're actually going to be joining together to make the sleeve holes. Okay, just double check that I did actually do 3 rows on there. Did 1, 2, 3, yeah, before I did the sleeves on. So you might want to add that onto your little notes, like just to do 3 rows. So the 4th row, I mean, obviously, because you've got to think, it's like how this is going to be going over the shoulder. So this isn't going to be coming close up to the neck, but you've got to think of that little tiny person. They've only got tiny shoulders, but you can still do this and do it a bit bigger, and you can do 4 rows and then before you actually join together. So it's really versatile pattern. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2, turn, and I'm going to work up to the actual first corner. Okay, so I say you don't have to count or really, the only time you really need to concentrate is making sure you don't split your yarn like this one, and when you get to the corners, it's so here I'm at the corner now, so I'm going to do 1 half double crochet into this corner. Then I'm going to skip all of this and I'm going to work into the next corner. So I need to sort of get my work in a good position, make sure I've got my tension still on my yarn, because otherwise you can make quite a baggy stitch. Okay, and we want to go into that particular hole there, keeping it all nice and taut, and work that stitch. And that's join that together to make your first armhole. And then we ignore the little teeny tiny stitch and we crochet all the way across, which is now going to be the back of your cardigan. You can actually turn it the other way around and make it into a dress if you want to, but that's another thing. See, it's so adaptable, this particular pattern. You can make all sorts out of it. But so I'm just going to get you these shoulder bits done, and then we'll carry on and we'll do the body work. And it's just one of those, so doing it something this tiny, it really doesn't actually take you that long. And I say, now I know that my video time actually says 32 minutes, but we have to remember that the first 15 minutes where I was actually sharing with you how to actually write the actual pattern. So back to the corner here, and I'm going to just do the 1 half double crochet, skip all of this bit and work into the next one. So just make sure you've got your tension nice, make sure your tension is nice on your hook, go into that corner, so where the chain 1 space is, work your stitch carefully, and that's made you your second armhole. Ignore the teeny tiny stitch, which actually looks a little bit bigger there, and work your way back to the end. I just need to pull some yarn, and we're right near the end of this row, and we've got to make sure we remember that we've got our obvious stitches, but then we've got this one at the end, which is where we've chained 1 and turned, so it's not so obvious. So, but we want to try and make sure you put 1 thread of it comes down, and then you can go underneath your 2 there, if that made any sense. It should have done, but okay. Now what we're going to do, see, now this is actually, I'm just going to pull my hook out a minute. This is what do you call this, like a little bolero, isn't it? Yeah, so because you've got this here now, this is actually your width of your chest area. Let me just move those out of the way so you can see better. Okay, so if you wanted to have still have a teeny tiny cardigan, but you wanted a bigger chest area, you can actually add some chains underneath the sleeve there, so it'll actually make the sleeve hole bigger, and it will make the chest area bigger. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share with you one of my new playful stitches, which I'll just say, I don't know whether it's got any particular name or not, but it was just something that I was playing with, that just to help it just to kick out nicely. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain the 2 like we have been doing, turn, and I'm going to work a half double crochet into the first hole. Okay, now this stitch is a bit fiddly because I'm going to go in between the chain and the actual stitch, and I'm going to do a front post single crochet, and I know you latch your yarn on the opposite side and come through and do a single crochet. And if I do that again, so you go into your work, make your half double crochet. This one's a lot easier. You go through the gap, pick up your yarn and do a single crochet, and it creates like you know, like if you was doing, you would actually do like half double chain one, but it creates a lovely little wrap over and it just makes your stitch look really pretty, and it kicks your work out in such a way that you get, where's my other one, this one, that's what I did, which has helped create this curve that's come out. So I just need to do the single crochet over, and so the whole of this row is just going to be half double crochet with a single crochet over the actual, like a front post single crochet. If you want to, you can just do it straight, or you can actually work 2 half double crochets into there. You can change your stitches into double stitches, single crochet. The choice is yours. I've got a little bit of a snag on my yarn there, but I'm just going to keep on going. Okay, so that's how we make, the shoulders for the sloped version. Saying, if I showed you with the other one, if you want to make the square version, each of your corners have to have 2 half double crochet and then a chain. And also when you're doing your joining together, you're going to work 2 half double up before you come across, you know, when we've skipped all of that sleeve area, just to make it sit nicely. And so there we go. That's it. So for those of you that are happy that they've learned how to do the cardigan and they want to go off and leave, if they've stayed that little bit longer, thank you very much for staying. And I'm going to carry on crocheting now. I actually do have a different stitch to do on the next row if you want to stay and watch the different stitch. I don't know what that one's called neither, but it was just, as I was just playing with the cardigans in preparation for the video. And so now, because there's no counting to do, it's just repetitive until I get to the actual chain 2 parts. I'm going to share with you a little bit of history, and so today's history is going to be about the Omphalos stone, but to begin with, I'm going to begin with Julius Caesar, because Julius Caesar, he actually was assassinated on the 15th of March 44 BCE, so that's before the current era, so before Jesus was born. And before he was assassinated, he actually came over to England, and he also went over to Ireland. And the reason we know about these things is because from the Roman times we actually have written history, and before that in England we don't have any written history. We only have information from the archaeological digs. So when Julius Caesar came over, I think Julius Caesar would have been surprised because he actually found in Ireland there was an Omphalos stone. Now, an Omphalos stone, I'm just going to stop my work for a minute. I'm going to show you. I've got some little tiny ones. These are just some pebbles really, but they're in the same shape. So an Omphalos stone is basically like an egg, but it's got a flat bottom. So it can, it can stand up. And this is just another one. It's a half of a circle with a flat bottom. And this one's also a bit more of a rougher version. But you can actually, if you put them together, they would like make an egg shape. Okay? And the Omphalos stones are, when Apollo, I know that some people say, oh, there's no such thing as Apollo, but according to the legends of everything, Apollo was one of our gods, and we had gods and goddesses in history, and Apollo used to go to, it was called Didyma to start off with, but it's actually a place in Turkey. And he used to go there, and he used to go to the Omphalos stone, get some insights of things, and maybe a little bit of, almost like he could predict the future. But realistically, what he actually was doing when he went to the Omphalos stone is he was actually studying the stars. So it's very much like when we use our horoscopes as guides. And it's also said that they used to use, there was actually the Omphalos stone was actually hollow, and so they used to inhale vapours to assist with their visions. Now, according to all my history research that I've done and looking at archaeological digs and everything else, the only thing that I can find is actually the cannabis seed. So that means that they would have essentially like been smoking pot. Yeah, bit of a pun there, but no, genuinely they would have like had a little smoke, would have like been able to meditate and relax, and then be able to get those insightful moments, is what they used to do. And we're talking about centuries ago, well before Julius Caesar was born. Okay, now I'm actually at the end of the row and I want to show you the other stitch now, so bear with. So we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then when we look at our work, we've actually got so on mine I've actually, to be fair, it's a little bit wonky, but you've got 2 holes now each side of every single one of your posts that are coming up. So what I did is I half double crocheted into the hole at the left hand side of my post, like that, and then I half double crocheted and I came back into the one at the right hand side. Okay, and it actually makes there, because you see that that's pulled that, because you know I've worked into that stitch. So each time you look at a post, you've got a hole at the left to half double crochet in. If you can't do this, you can just do half double crochet all the way across. It's entirely up to you. I'm just sharing with you a random stitch that I did. And they look like little kisses with little tiny crisscrosses on it. And I liked it, so I thought I'd share it. There's no other reason behind that. I don't know what it's called. It was just some random thing that I did that I thought was really pretty. Anyway, back to the Omphalos stone. So when Julius Caesar went over to Ireland, now then, this is where I can't pronounce the place properly. It's spelt Bullaum. I'm just checking my piece of paper now just to make sure. Oh, Aun for Nanar. Bullaun. So I think it's pronounced Balawn, but I may say that wrong. I'm really sorry to anybody that's Irish and have pronounced it wrong. I'm sure that you can correct me on that one. I did try doing the speech thing online, but it wasn't really very clear. But anyway, there's actually 2 Balawns, if that's the proper name, in Ireland. One of them is just Balawn, and the other one is actually inside Limerick in Ireland. I was like, oh, that's interesting, because obviously for those of you that know about my history research to do with crochet, that's where in Limerick in Ireland is where the actual written version in the 1800s was being written. So I thought it was interesting, and when I went and had a look on Google Maps, you can actually see where Limerick is. So for example, if this area is Limerick, then over to the left hand side, if you zoom in, you'll see a circle. It's just a circle. Looks like somebody's just cut away all of the grass and made a circle. So it's like the grass inside's green, then there's just a nothingness, like bare soil, almost brown, like the grass has died, and then it's green on the outside of that. And according to the stories of the Omphalos stone, which is actually called the True stone in Ireland, because they've got a special name for theirs. the stone was actually, it was originally in the Boulogne place, but then it got moved. And so because you can see this ring in the ground, which it did say it was the stone was associated with fairy castles. And I've, while I was doing some research a long time ago, I came across a mushroom called the fairy ring mushroom, which actually leaves that same mark in the ground after it's been growing. Because what actually happens is that you start off with one mushroom in the centre, and then it sends out spores all the way right round, and then that mushroom dies, and then the next year you've got a ring of mushrooms, and then it keeps growing. Each year you get a ring, and then so the grass fills in the middle, and you just end up with this bare earth ring. And they're called fairy rings, they've been rumoured to, like, fairies used to dance in them and things like that. But the actual mushroom itself is an edible mushroom. It's supposed to have a nutty flavour. I don't know because I haven't tried it, because I don't like mushrooms, but I did pick one and I've dried it, and it does smell very nice, to be fair. And when I was doing my research on the Bible, I noticed that they spoke about is it manna or mana, Manna, that they lived on while they was travelling. And I always wondered what that was. And there's all sorts of different versions of saying, oh, it could be this, it could be that. But this fairy ring mushroom actually has a relative mushroom, which is also edible, and it's commonly known as the horsehair mushroom. And its proper name, you're going to have to bear with me, I need to look at my paper because I can't remember it. Its proper name is Marasmius rotula. And what happens is that you can actually pick the mushroom, dry the mushroom, and then take the mushroom with you. Then when you get to your new location, you can plant it, water it, and it will grow again, and it will grow for 3 weeks, giving out spores. So you've got 3 weeks worth of food from one mushroom. And so then if you was travelling again, you'd pick your mushroom, you'd dry it as you was travelling, and the next location you stop at, plant your mushrooms again. So you'd always have something to eat, and they were supposed to be very good for you with vitamins and minerals and things. So I just wanted to share that with you because I did, because I thought it could well be the mushroom that's in the Bible. But anyway, back to the Omphalos stone. I say is the Greeks was Greek. I mean, that seems a little bit confusing because he actually goes to Turkey to go and pray to his stone, and it was supposed to be the house of God so that you can actually go and speak to God. And when I was looking at all of the history, I was like, well, if that history is to do with Apollo, and Apollo is one of the gods, and Athena was also one of the goddesses that lived with him at that time, and she's supposed to be the goddess of weaving. And it's also believed that the goddess Athena is actually Penelope in the story of Penelope and Ulysses. So I just thought it all had an interesting link. And I just thought, oh, you know, that's just one of those things. I've just found something else that just links together. But then I found something else. I'm just on the last bit. I've got to do one into the very end here, like that, and then come back into there, like that. And there you go. It makes a beautiful little. I don't know how to describe that pattern. So they're like sort of like little kisses. It's just, I liked it, so I thought I'd share it anyway. But I'm going to continue with that same pattern now. But it's easy to do now because I've actually got proper holes from my other stitches. So I'll do a chain 2, turn, and then I'm going to work into this stitch first and do my half double crochet, and then do a stitch back. Okay, so this is actually my 3rd row down from joining the sleeves on. Now then, where was I? I've got a little bit lost with what I was saying. Let's have a look at my nose. Right, so I told you about the mushroom, and it's to do with, oh yeah, so we've got Athena who's also supposed to be our goddess. And I had a look because in Turkey, this is where I wanted, in Turkey, where the actual very original Omphalos stone was actually placed for Apollo, it was actually placed by a family, check this one out, whose name is Bronchidae, which is actually very, very similar to Bronchadier, and it also does the anagram of doing a braid chain. So I could actually say, well, then I've got evidence there to say that there's a family, whether it really is right and they crocheted or not, or whether it's all to do with crochet, I can't say, because obviously there's no physical pieces of work to say, oh, this piece of work is 1,000 years old and was made at such and such. The only evidence I've got is that you can see some stitch work that's been done on the Egyptian. You know when they wrap up a mummy, they wrap it up in all of the bandages, but then they also wrapped it around what they called a garland, and in there's actually stitching that looks like, if you just, when I was doing the tambourine, you just do it through some work and you do those loops. It's the same sort of loop. But there's nothing to say for sure. I mean, yes, they did have a hook in Egypt as well, so you can put two and two together, but that's where I suppose that's a bit like the archaeologists, isn't it? It's like they have something, they say, well, okay, we've got this piece of work, this tool fits, we assume that this did it, but they can't be 100% sure. But because the name of the family who made them is also an anagram of the braid chain, it just made me think. And that was actually, the Omphalos stone was placed there at least 500 years before Jesus was born. So just it's one of those things that's like, oh, makes you think, things that make you go, So I thought I would share that today. And saying the other thing that I could share is actually Moses. When I was reading the Bible, I'm not being religious, don't get me wrong, I'm not being rude towards those people that are religious. It's just that I've had to read the Bible to be able to understand what people are talking about and to try and make sense of it, because I find when I tried to read the Bible before, I find it very, very confusing. And it's also, I mean, I do know essentially it's like it's a list of like historical names that like who belong to who and who belong to who and everything else. And when you trace all of these things back and do all the traces like I have done, you can actually trace the gods and goddesses, like with Athena. They could actually be the same pharaohs that they talk about in Egypt, because they actually do match up in a strange way, but they do. And I say Moses in the Bible, when that part of the Bible was written, there's the bit where it's describing how Moses and all of his friends, they all joined together, and they're actually, because Moses was he was in Egypt, he grew up in Egypt, even though he was a Hebrew, his mum, because they were supposed to kill all of the Hebrew boy babies, and what his mum did is she put him in the Moses basket, sent him down the river, and then the princess of one of the pharaohs, one of the daughters, I'm assuming she was called a princess, I might be wrong with the naming of that, but she took him in, and then Moses' mum actually ended up being his wet nurse, because obviously that lady hadn't had the baby, the princess hadn't. And so Moses' mum really brought up her own child inside the Egyptian kingdom. But then when you look at the Egypt records, you can't find any reference to Moses being there. So so it does get very confusing. But the interesting thing about is that Moses is the person that actually builds the tabernacle, and which then essentially becomes the Ark of the Covenant, because that's the one, you know, the box that keeps all of the rules in. Look, we're looking at this point here. How long are we? It's very tiny, so I think, and even if it was like a little person, if I get my little bear to help me here, I think, well, this actually would come just to above the nappy area at this particular size. So I think I'm just going to carry on crocheting mine and make mine come down to about here. So we've actually got like a longer, almost like a little dress, because you can actually sew it up backwards. You know, just sew it up to like to this point here, and you can make yourself a buttonhole. You can have it as a dress. So I'm going to do that for my teddy bear and carry on chatting to you about Moses, because I found it fascinating, because the Bible was obviously written like thousands and thousands of years ago, and you've got Moses who's with all his friends. What they do is they build the Ark of the Covenant out of wood, then they coat it with gold, they melt down silver, and they make brass, so they make some brass rings, and they make decorations for the Ark of the Covenant with the silver things. And so you know that they're really clever to be able to melt metal and to like effectively glue it to wood, which is a technology that we actually weren't using, of being able to, you know, like this here, this particular hook. This particular hook would have been made out of maybe kind of silver and then coated, and this metal is stuck to it, you know, like that galvanizing that was on about before, where they called it electrography, and they was using that technology, and it's written about in the Bible. And so, but as the English population, we actually didn't use that technology until the 1800s. So it made me wonder, was you know, obviously, like, we've got our English ancestors that they came, I mean, when we first came over here, we came over, the main royal family that like took over England, they actually came over as Saxons from the Netherlands. So they came over from the Netherlands and came over to England, and then that's where, from that point onwards, our royal history goes all the way right up to our current Queen Elizabeth, who is so beautiful, bless her. So because we came from the Netherlands, and then looking at our history, if like when you go back to the crochet, it's like the Rigo family was supposed to have come from Wallonia, which is actually in the Netherlands, which is next door to Flanders. We've got Queen Eleanor, the Queen Consort, who was Queen Castile of the Queen. She was our queen, but she also had land in Spain, who married King Edward I. So that was in like the 1200s. She was from the Flanders side of family. And before that, you've got, what's his name? William the Conqueror. He was actually, I know he was from, where was he from? He was Norman, wasn't he? So he was like more from France. But his wife, Matilda, she was from Flanders. So we've got these huge links to Flanders. And the Flanders people originally started off with the Romans. So, which they started off from the Greek. So it just shows you that like all of our English history all seems to stem all the way back to the ancient Greek gods and goddesses, and it looks like that crochet came all the way with them as as an art, because you know, like, because obviously they needed to make their clothes, and over there in Greece and over in Europe, obviously the weather's a lot warmer than England, so when they came over to England, they didn't really have the same need to be able to crochet like that. But then, so when William the Conqueror came over, he brought weaving with him, and he brought broadcloth, which is ended up for what the Scottish ended up using that to be able to make their kilts. So it's all interlinked in such an amazing way that, say, normally in history you just see, you know, oh, there's this war, there's that war, and everything else. We don't see that actually there's this thing to do with fashion and clothing following all the way through. And say, especially for England, ours is linked purely by the royal families and can be traced all the way back. Now I've managed to do it all the way back to the Greek gods and goddesses. So it would be cool if someone said to me, oh, you know, you're definitely right, but because this could possibly be like one of those royal secret things, then the chances are that the royal family aren't going to turn around and go, yes, Karen, you're right. It would be nice if they did, but and I like to believe that I am actually with all of these, because the more I study, the more I can see how they're all interlinked. And I know some people say, oh, you're making your work fit history, but I'm actually not. I'm actually looking at all of these ancient twists and legends and myths and everything, and seeing actually there's a lot of truth in there, that because it went for so long, because see, we've come over to England, and then effectively, as England's broke away from Europe, we've ended up being trapped. It's not until we get to the 1400s and we make all of our sailing ships to be able to sail back and start to go around the world that we realise, oh my gosh, we came from over there. So there, what do we think? Look, it's making a beautiful little pattern. I'm going to stop. I've actually been crocheting for chattering away for an hour now, and so I know it's going to take a long time to upload this video, so I'm going to love you and leave you with this particular one, and I hope that you have lots of fun. I hope that you've learned from your paperwork and that you can carry on. As far as my history is that it's history, and no one can turn around and say to me, unless they're a time traveller, of course, who's happened to been there last week, and go, actually, yes, you're right. Nobody seems to want to be able to answer me, because, say, there's no actual real evidence like that. There's just, it's all, I suppose, ifs and buts and wheres and whys. But there is actually family names and family links that do actually show crochet following all the way through, right from, I say, from the ancient gods and goddesses all the way to our current queen. So thank you for watching, thank you for liking, thank you for listening, thank you for sharing, thank you for subscribing. And I know that I'm actually nearly on my 5 million total views, and I've got over 32,000 subscribers now. So I want to thank you especially for that. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to share with you a cooking recipe for a change on my next video, because I thought, I know we're doing all of this crochet, but at the end of the day, it's like, you know, there's all those people that maybe that they come just to listen to my history. So swings and roundabouts. So I thought, you know, I'm going to do something completely different. And because I used to do baking all the time, and I got a bit fed up of it, actually, you know, like after always making it for everybody else, always having to be on time, and I actually stopped doing baking for home. But I'm going to share with you how to bake a cake, which is it's a beautiful recipe. It's really, really easy to make. So thanks again. Bye for now.